Um, and yeah, I don't know what the plans will be. I might have to. I don't know. I will have to see how I'm staying with the time, and yeah, if I continue streaming or not. Basically, I put myself like a target. I'm streaming from November last year, and I said that if I don't manage to reach one average viewer per stream till I finish these challenge runs, the first set of challenge runs, then I will stop streaming for a while um, and focus more on YouTube because everything that I stream goes back on YouTube. So basically, this might be the last stream for quite a while. This is also due to time restraints, and yeah, it's easier for me to find like half an hour or an hour to play a mission and then upload it on YouTube, then play 3 hours straight and things like that. Yeah, so it might be my last stream for quite a while. But anyway, I still hope that everyone that watched live enjoy it, and maybe I wasn't entertaining enough. Maybe I didn't choose the right games to play. I actually can't play the newer game because I have problems streaming newer games. I tried to stream Rotrato, and because I also really like that game, and yeah, it kind of lagged very hard at some point while streaming, which didn't do when I played normally. So yeah, I can only play low resource games, or maybe games that are more optimized. Anyway, yeah, we managed to do the challenge runs on 1.0 patch, and I will continue to do them on patch 1.03, and I will not be really done with this game. I want to do some playthroughs. I want to do a playthrough of soldiers only, like no archers and no cavalry, only foot soldiers, both good and bad, because it can be done on both, and also a cavalry only for good. And after I will do that, it will be it. I will be done with Lord of the Rings, The Battle for Middle Earth, and I will start going for 2. Maybe when I start playing Lord of the Rings Battle of Middle Earth 2, I will start my streams again, because it's a new game, and yeah, I will try to do it. But still, I managed to finish what I wanted to finish. It won't happen. I don't know how long it will take, because there are like 5 more campaigns that I want to do. Of course, in those campaigns I will not go like the cavalry only good campaign and footman only good and bad campaign. I will not I will not go for no squads lost or things like that. I will just go for beating the campaign as quickly as possible. So maybe I will be able to release more videos, but until I'm done with everything that I want to do in Lord of the Rings Battle for Middle Earth, first I will I will stop streaming and just focus on YouTube. Maybe I will try YouTube streaming. I don't know. I do this as a hobby, but even by doing as a hobby, I still want to see some growth. I cannot continue if I don't see any growth. And regarding growth, I guess this is also true in all areas. If you don't see growth, then maybe you should stop doing that thing and rethink what you're doing. Maybe you're not doing it right because you cannot, because you don't have the necessary resources. Maybe you are not just meant to be. If you're, let's say, playing piano and you see no growth after 5 months, then you should really ask some questions. And this is also true with Christian life. If you are like, you came to Jesus like 10 years ago, or 5 years ago, or 2 years ago, and you're the same like you were when you came, then you should ask some questions and not abandon this, but really ask some questions and analyze your life and what you're doing, and yeah, try to change and improve. Because in life, if things don't work, you can always start again. If things don't work, you can just try something new. If you try streaming and it doesn't work, you can make a pause and then you can try getting back to it and things like that. And yeah, you can try a few times, and if it doesn't work, then you can stop. But in Christian life, if you don't grow, you're going down. And if you're going down, at some point, even if you came to Jesus and give your life to him, you will go back forgetting him. And that will be the tragedy. Or you will live a life that will basically really not honor God. And when things get rough, you will fall and you will lose the prize, which is eternity with God. So yeah, it's always good to look at ourselves and see if we improve in every area, in Christian life, in our walk with God, in ministry. If you don't see any results, even though in ministry the results are in God's hands, but if you go as a missionary and the time passes and you see no results, then maybe you should rethink if it's really your calling. Of course, if you receive a very clear calling from God, like go there and do that, then by all means you go and stay there, even if you don't see results. But if you're not sure if God has called you to do something, you can take a time and put it before God in prayer and say, okay, God, I want to try this. If it's really your calling for me, then help me get results. If not, then I will know and I will stop. And because we get different callings. Sometimes it's hard to figure out the callings, and I see people in my work that really know their calling, and they're so passionate about it, and they are so full of life, and they do what needs to be done because they know that it's their calling and God calls them to do things. But it's hard to be like them if you're not sure. And at this moment in life, I'm not sure if what I'm doing it's what God calls me to do. I'm still in the tryout period. I do enjoy some things that I do and I do like them, but I'm not maybe as passionate as those people. Like, I was listening to a guy at church who basically his calling is for worshiping God. He's staying maybe sometimes all night and composing songs and practicing songs and things like that. He goes and you can see when you see it and you see him face to face, you really realize that it's what he's enjoying. He's doing what he's enjoying. He's so full of happiness, so full of passion, and when he starts, it's hard for him to stop, which can be a problem. But it's always good to see people like that, or other people who are going around town and giving people like New Testaments. it's also good to see their conviction when they doing that, and it's hard, but they know that God has called them to do it when they came to God, so they are doing it because God has told them to do it, and yeah, they are doing it, and it's nice to see people like that, and yeah, and I really wish that I find my calling. I know that one of the callings that the Christians has is to go and preach the gospel and live the gospel that you preach, like live a life that really shows that God is the Lord of your heart, and also go and tell people about God, about what God has done for them, and yeah, why he gave his life, because I feel that sometimes when we are preaching gospel, we focus too much on the love of God and too little on the judgment, and I think it's a balance. Of course, there are people who are focusing too much on the judgment and too little on the love of God, but I think it should be a balance. Like, God came because of his judgment, because of his righteousness, because he wanted to have the bond that was broken in the Eden. He wanted it back. He wanted to have fellowship with us, with humans, but he couldn't go past his righteousness. So for his people, for the Israelites in the old time, there were like the sacrifices that had to be made when you sinned, like a cow or a bird or a sheep had to be killed for your sins instead of you. The animal would die instead of you. But then Jesus came and he died instead of us, because those sacrifices that were in the older periods before God, they were just like something that the people should they do, and it wasn't enough. They were just like in remembrance or showing what God will do when Jesus will came. He will do what the animals did. Basically, the sin in a way was transferred to those animals and they died. They had to die. Of course, it wasn't transferred because it couldn't. And in Romans, Paul said that, yeah, all those sacrifices, they couldn't solve the sin problem. They just appeased the wrath of God for a while, but it didn't solve it. Only when Jesus came and died on the cross, he solved it. Also for those before him that really believed in him and they did all the sacrifices, and for those after him who will not be required to do sacrifices, but in the Old Testament sense, but they had to basically sacrifice their life, give their lives to him, recognize that through their own doings they couldn't be what God asks them to be in order to get into heaven, and only by what Christ did on the cross we could achieve that. And if we accept Christ as God and Savior, then basically we are seen by God as sinless, because you are seen through Christ. It's like you have between us and God is Christ. So when God looks at us, he sees Christ and what he's done. Yeah, it's how we are justified in what he's done. And yeah, it's real. We might not some people might not believe in heaven or hell or things like that, but it's real. I mean, the of course everyone has his own opinion and he can choose what to believe and what not, but believing in something uh, or not believing in something doesn't mean it's not real, like in gravity. Or people who think that the earth are flat, they are not believing that earth is round, but this doesn't change the fact that earth is round, or this doesn't change the fact that gravity exists. And it's the same with faith in God and in justification through Jesus Christ in front of God. We can sit there and say, well, I don't believe this, it's too far-fetched. Why would someone need to die for me so I can have eternal life? Or I don't believe that God existed. Why would he exist? And why would he care about me? And things like that. But this doesn't mean it's not true. And I guess it's not easy to believe that, and people are struggling, and today there are so many false teachings regarding this, and Christianity has become so bloated with false teachings, with people who are preaching more a way of life instead of a relationship with God. So I'm not sure that I know the argument. I think that the argument can be, if it's not provable, this doesn't mean that it doesn't exist. So you have to prove it doesn't exist, that in order to be certain that it doesn't exist. Also, I think there was something that is like Pascal's gamble regarding this, in which it was said that if I believe and God doesn't exist, then it's no problem. Like, I live a righteous life, I live a good life, and I don't lose anything. But if I don't believe and God does exist and everything that Bible does is true, then I lose everything. Because if people don't believe and it's true, then you lose everything. And personally, I believe in only one God, in only the God of the Bible. I don't believe that other gods existed. I do believe that there are also beings that we cannot see, like angels and demons and everything like that. I believe there is a world, like a spiritual world, that we cannot see, that is around us, but I believe that in that world that we cannot see, there is only one God, and other gods, they are not. Because if we look at the religion and even we go beyond Bible, what we can see is that other gods, they are all not really interested in having a relationship with their followers. Like, we can go with Muslims and their God, which actually was based very much on Christianity and the Christian teaching. But we see that Allah is like a God that doesn't care about his people. He's somewhere gone, and what it promised them, the followers, if I know correctly, is just a paradise in which you have everything that you would want on this earth, like woman, food, and things like that. But no other God in the history promises his followers a personal relationship. Only one God does, and this is the God of the Bible, the God that is revealed through Bible and through history. And Also, all other gods, they always ask, I mean, in the mythology and things like that, there is no other god that he does something for its followers, like um, like Jesus did. People, God who will come and die for the followers, so the followers can have a relationship. The gods, the Greek mythology, the Roman mythology, everything was like you had to do something from the god in order to obtain something. You want good luck, let's say in Greek mythology, you have to find the god of good luck and give them sacrifices, and maybe that god will give you the good luck that you want or the protection that you want. But never the god would do something for their followers out of their own initiative. They would be like, well, you do that and maybe we'll give you. But only uh, God, through Jesus Christ, he did that for us. He was the one who first took initiative and said, well, if I don't do something, you will all burn in hell. And I don't want that. So, in order for you to have a chance, I will send Jesus Christ to die for you, to cover for your sins, in order for your relationship with me to be like it was in Eden. Also, I'm curious if in what do you believe, Mika Vibrio? Do you believe in one God, or do you don't believe in a God, or what's your belief regarding these things? Because yeah, I kind of talked a lot about what I believed and things like that. But I'm also curious, what do you believe regarding this topic? So yeah, um, for me, because yeah, for me, till you have time to write if you want to answer. Because for me, hmm, that's yeah, very good and interesting. I mean, um, but that also requires of you, and I'm sure that you have this a very good discernment, like to know very good what you believe and what's your viewpoint on things. Because there are people, even in Christianity, that um, push false teachings, and they push them very convincible. And yeah, if people don't know what they believe, or don't have a very strong viewpoint on their belief, it's very hard for them to stay true. And but yeah, it's also what I trying to do. Like, I mean, I will not change my Christian beliefs. I mean, believing in one God, and that God being the only one. I won't stop believing in Jesus Christ and what He's done for me. But regarding some things that are more controversial, um, or maybe are not very clear in the Bible, at least for me and also for other people, like because yeah, truth be told, not all the things are very clear. Sometimes in the Bible you have principles and things like that, but in order to change that, especially but in order to change my viewpoint on things that are very clear, I will not do it. But on things that are not very clear, if a compelling argument is made, I will start analyzing my viewpoint. And in order to give an example regarding that, is I know that it's a very hot topic in Christianity today about LGBTQ communities, and the fact that yeah, we start to have in some countries LGBTQ pastors, or they can get married in church, in Christian church, in Protestant church, or anyway in Catholic church also, these communities. And yeah, no matter what arguments people bring to that, I cannot agree, because the Bible says very clear that people who are doing what these people that are part of LGBTQ are doing, they are living a life in sin, and they are doing something that it's in the eye of the God, it's sin, and they are keeping in sin, and you cannot put someone who sins like that and doesn't repent, doesn't ask God for forgiveness, to lead a church or to be a member of a church of the body of Christ. It's, yeah, no matter what people are trying to do, the Bible, or trying to uh, say about it, the Bible is very clear, and I will not change my viewpoint. And also about like female pastors and things like that, the Bible is also very clear for me. uh well, I try. This is what I can say. I try to follow them. If they are clearly stated, I try to follow them, and I try to don't break them on purpose. Like, the Bible says very clear to don't lie, or to don't steal, or things like that. And I try to keep them, to follow them. Not always. I don't always manage to do it, to be honest. Um, Sometimes the first instinct that I have is to lie. If something went wrong, to say, well, it wasn't my fault, or things like that. Um, but when I realize that I do that, I'm trying to correct it first in front of the God, and I go and ask for forgiveness. Well, God, look, I screwed up and I lied, and I break your rules, um, and I know that He is forgiving me. And then I go and try um, to make up, or to fix the issue with the people that I, let's say, was lied to them. Like, if I lied to someone about a thing, and then I realize, well, I didn't say the truth, and yeah, under pressure or things like that, I lied, and I will go to him and say, well, look, I'm sorry, I lied to you, and this is what truly happened, and assume the consequences, or sorry, I like took that for you, and yeah, forgot to return it, and things like that. uh, it actually happened to me once when I was not and when I was younger. Like, one of my chemistry teachers was giving me a book in order to prepare myself for the final exam. I was in the last year of high school, and she got sick, she broke her leg, and I haven't managed to return the book. I kept it very well throughout the university. I studied chemical engineering, and then um, before going to the final exam in the university, in order to get my diploma, the diploma exam, I remember that, well, I still have that book, and yeah, it wasn't given to me. It was basically, I took it and I never returned it. In a way, it was stealing. So yeah, I went back to my high school and looked for the teacher and returned the book. I don't think that she expected me to return it. It wasn't there in the school, but another colleague of her, she basically said that she will give it to her. But yeah, the funny thing is that I never forgot about the book. I was always remembering about it, but it was so hard for me to go and give it back. I was like, well, probably she forgot it, but deep down in my mind, it was like, well, she didn't give it to you. You borrow it, and now it's starting to turn in you stealing it if you don't return it. Well, that was like some years ago, like, I guess 8 years ago, or things like that. But it did happen, and also, Well, um, regarding this question, how important it's for me to follow these rules, sim- since I can simply ask for forgiveness afterwards, it's very important for me to try to follow them, even if I break them, because it's like in a relationship. When you love someone, you try to do what that person likes. I mean, I'm married, and because I love my wife, I try to do things that she likes. And if I know that she doesn't like certain things, I will not do it. If I know that she doesn't like me staying very late on the PC playing games, I try to don't do it. If I know that she likes to spend time reading Bible together and praying together or walking through nature, I try to make time for those things. So this is the same for those rules. uh, because I love God and uh, I I really love Him. I try to follow His rules, uh, and because I know that they are also made uh, for me to be, let's say, for the good of me. Like even the things that may look like, let's say, restrictions, like you cannot do certain things, is also for the better of me. Like, um, of course, we are human and we have the human nature that we have when Adam sinned, the first people sinned. So I cannot always follow them, and sometimes I'm weak, and yeah, those spiritual world that exist and the devil who tries to make us fall managed to overcome me, and then I ask, but it's not something that I do it lightly. And when I do ask for forgiveness, it's like trying to, I'm like, I don't want to do it anymore. I mean, I know that I lied. I know that this upsets you, God. So please forgive me and help me to always tell the truth. Of course, maybe 10 days from now I will also lie and again, and I can ask for forgiveness again, but I'm trying to not do it on purpose. I'm fighting with myself, with every instinct that comes to myself, and it's like, well, you messed up, so you should lie to just escape it. So I'm fighting with it, so I can not do things that displeases God. So yeah, it's and yeah, if you, in a way, uh, if you do things and uh, rules that I disagree but I follow anyway. Um, right now, I cannot say that they are things that I disagree but follow, because everything that I found in the Bible as rules, I found that they are better for me. Like there are some things like not lying. Well, I use light a lot, but or not stealing on, or not let's say having affairs in your marriage, or keeping yourself let's say without having intimate mate relationship with a girl before marriage or things like that. I always know that they are for the best of me. Like I was thinking, well, how good it is when people are telling you the truth. Even if they messed up, it's, you feel okay. You understand. I mean, when they messed up and they do something bad and they tell the truth, it's like, well, yeah, I appreciate that. Or when people are not stealing or are not having affairs or things like that. I mean, it's it's the best. If the people, if all the people would try to do that, then we would live like in paradise on this earth. If all the people would follow all the rules. and we would have a very nice society in which everyone would help each other, in which we wouldn't have any corruption. So yeah, I couldn't really find the rule in the Bible that I don't agree with, but I follow. What I did found was some rules that people made that were not really in the Bible, that they tried to impose to the followers or the people who are worshiping and worshiping God and are part of the church. That I did find, and but usually I don't follow them if they are not in the Bible and are just human rules. Depending on which type of rule is sometimes I follow them, sometimes I'm not. I'm also sometimes going to churches in order to, yeah, help the mission there and talk about God, like preaching in churches or giving like prayer motives, leading the people in prayer and so on. And there, in Romania, at least, I'm from Romania, there are some churches that are very conservative, like people that are praying, preaching, they should not wear a tie because, I don't know, reasons. If I know that this is one kind of church, yeah, I will not put a tie to my suit. I will go without a tie. Uh, so yeah, I don't agree with the rule, but yeah, I will follow it. So people are not staring at me while I'm preaching and they are thinking, well, he's not wearing a tie. Why he's not wearing a tie? And instead of listening to the word of God, they are just focused on why this guy is not wearing a tie or not wearing a suit or things like that. But yeah, wearing a tie or not wearing a tie is not in the Bible. So yeah, I can say that in certain circumstances, I do follow some rules that some church elders put that I disagree with, and they are not in the Bible. Um, because yeah, regarding how you should go and yeah, in the at the church, there are some principles but not rules. Like you won't find anywhere in the Bible, well, you should wear a tie or not wear a tie. It's like be decently dressed, like dress decently, and this can vary from culture to culture. And yeah, but other than these kind of rules that are made by human people and leaders sometimes, and I disagree with them, yeah, there are some that I follow depending on the circumstances, even if I disagree. But yeah, these are rules that are made by human, not found in the Bible. And yeah, but unfortunately, about these rules, some of these rules are tried. People try to having a connection with God versus following a lifestyle. Um, well, following a lifestyle is basically having like a moral code. Everyone can have a moral code. Everyone can leave a code or make a code for him that suits his needs. Like you choose what you want to follow, what your lifestyle is. Like you want to have a lifestyle in which you are a very moral person. Like you go to church from time to time, or you don't go to church, but you're like, well, I'm not going to church, I don't believe in God, but I don't want to hurt anyone, I don't want to cheat on my wife, I don't want to smoke or drink or things like that because they are not healthy for me or things like this. And that this is basically having a lifestyle. You just live a life that you want to live. But having a connection with God, it's much more than lifestyle. because everything is rooted in your connection with him. And it's not about following rules, it's also about talking with him being your father or your best friend or things like that, because you know that, yeah, in this world people disappoint you, and sometimes people don't have fathers, sometimes they lose both parents and things like that. But God is always there, and when you have a relationship with him, it's like you have a relationship with your um, mother or your father or your best friend. He can help you, like in a lifestyle. You don't really have someone who help you, maybe some friends or things like that, but having a connection with God and a relationship with him, it's a both way, it's a two-way thing. um, you love him and live a life that he likes you, or try to live, because he knows about our weakness to do what is right. But he also listens to you and help you with your problem. It's not like it's an absent one, it's part of the life. And that's basically how I see the connection. Like, um, in a lifestyle you don't have this connection, but a connection with God, you do have it. It's like a long distance relationship that will end when we die. Um, and regarding this topic, I understood more about it when I was in the friendship period with my wife. We were in a long distance relationship for, like, I think almost more than half a year before we could first see each other, because it was the COVID pandemic and so on. I was in Romania, she was in Belgium. And yeah, with God, the connection, it's like a long distance relationship. Um, and it would be like on the, let's say, older ways, because now with the cell phone you can also see the person, and we were able to see, but we also like write letters and things like that. But yeah, in the old times you could only write letters and wait for some months to get a response and things like that. But yeah, it's not a very good parallel, because God can respond to you almost immediately. You pray for something and you say, well, God, I really need that, or I really need help with my exam or things like that. And you get the help that you need. And for me personally, there were moments in life in which, yeah, I pray for something and God made it possible. Of course, through circumstances, or sometimes, uh, yeah, in ways that I didn't even imagine. So, but I also know of people who God talks to them in a more direct way, like they hear his voice and he gave them like guidance. And I have met some people that basically when they were in high school during the communism regime, they were very persecuted because they were Christians. So yeah, they receive harder exams or things like that. And at some point they received something that was not even teach, or they wasn't even in uh, the curriculum that they had to have for the test, and to learn for the test. And they asked God to give them help, and they said that they heard like someone whispering in their ears what to write, and they write it and they got a 10. um yeah, I say it always answers people's prayer, but not always like how people want it. I had prayers that I have to wait for an answer. Like, God always answers, my prayer, but not always when I want it or in the way that I'm expecting it. For example, I really wanted to get married. Like that was what I wanted from like 18 years or something like that. But still, like 27th or 26th of year, I haven't even had a girlfriend. Uh, and I was always praying for it. And yeah, uh, God's response came with my wife, but I had to wait for it, and I also have to be prepared. Because sometimes what happens is that I ask God for some things that I'm not prepared to handle. And that was the same with marriage. I asked God to get married, but I wasn't prepared to do it. So first I had to prepare myself, and then I received His answer. Um, but yeah, that was maybe the longest prayer that I had the longest time. Sometimes He simply says no. Like sometimes I wanted to get a certain job or pass a certain exam, even if I didn't study it that much, and God said no. You will suffer the consequences, or this place is not for you. And but I cannot say that I had like a prayer that was not answered. And yeah, I can give another example about a prayer that was answered, and it was yes, but not in the way that I wanted. Like my previous car that I had was a very old one. At the time that I finally managed to get another one, it was already 18 years of age, or even more, the car. And I was starting to invest more money in it than it was worth it. But I didn't really have the money to buy a new one, and I was, yeah, there there was a lot of competitions that were made at gas stations or at some supermarkets like Lidl, which were about winning a car. And I was like praying for God, God, you know that I need a new car in order to do your work. I also traveled quite a lot to preach and things like that. And yeah, this one is starting to break down, and I cannot afford to fix it every time it does. So please help me win a new car, and so I can use it and keep doing what I'm doing. And there were a lot of competition that I was part of, and I was praying, and I was never the winner. But then it came that my um, wife's parents, without me asking them or anything, they they just decided to help us and buy us a new car, a car of our choosing and of our liking. So yeah, that was a prayer that was answered, and yeah, it was not the way I wanted. I was expecting, well, maybe I can win a car, and yeah, it would be been easier, but in a way. But yeah, I basically receive it without me asking for it or asking the my in-laws to buy me a new car or things like that. It just came in, and it was very unexpected. We were talking about cars and about some programs that we have in Romania in which you can trade your old car for a voucher that reduces the price of a new car. And they were like, well, why are you not doing that? We can help you with that. And I was like, okay, are you sure? It's not cheap. I mean, cars are expensive. And they were like, yeah, it's okay. I also said to them, well, I don't need a new car. An old one will work just fine and will be way cheaper than a new car. And they were like, no. You choose a car and we'll pay for it. Uh, and that was a real blessing, and I wasn't expecting God to answer my prayer like that. I was like, well, that's interesting. but I was very thankful to God for this one. And yeah, sometimes also, like, here where I work, I used to work in an organization, and um, now I work for a church. But when being to an organization, I was, yeah, it was very hard for me because of the management. And I also asked God to see things clearly, to see if I have to adjust some things, or if not, to help me, yeah, to help me end my collaboration with the organization, because I made the promise for 1 year, one school year, but we stayed there for like 5 months. And when we went to the organization, we went there thinking that we'll stay there for a couple of years, but yeah, it was only 5 months. And yeah, we asked God to, well, help help us see how long should we stay there, and if it's the right place for us. And we really hope that it would be the right place for us, because it was something that me and my wife wanted to do for a long time. But yeah, God said, well, no, you have to readjust your plans because your place is not in that organization. So yeah, we had to do it. But to be honest, I didn't have a prayer that was not answered. Even though I, for some of them, I have to wait, and I'm still waiting for some prayers to be answered. And I know that they will be, but I have to be patient. Um, because I know that God always answers my prayers, and He answers in a way that maybe it's yes to what I'm asking, maybe it's no, maybe it's you have to wait for it, and because you're not ready, or because it's not my timing, you have to wait for my timing. And that it's also hard to do, because yeah, sometimes we want things now, we want things to happen now, and God is like, well, it's not the right moment, and that then is the hardest to wait. And yeah, for me it was with getting married. I had to wait like 10 years. Hmm. Uh, in To be honest, I don't think that there is a time limit in which I would say that God is not answering my prayer. Uh, the the question that I would put is if God answered my prayer and I didn't see it. Like if God's answer was no, and I just didn't see it because I didn't want to have no for an answer for what I ask. But um, I can say that there is a time limit in which I say that, well, God will not answer my prayer, because yeah, He always does, but sometimes we don't want to accept the answer. And yeah, at some point, I'm asking myself, well, and asking God to show me if He did answer. But yeah, I didn't see it. And for God to answer no, usually what happens, for me, I think there are two reasons that God answers no. One of them is that we are not ready for what we are asking. Like, let's say when 14 years old asked his dad to buy him a car. His dad will not buy him a car because, yeah, he needs to be at least 16 in some countries, or 18 in others, or even more in others, in order for him to buy a car. Because, yeah, the car is dangerous, and if you don't have the appropriate age to drive it, it's very dangerous, and it might kill you or might harm you. And I think this is the same with God. He says no because it's not good for us. And also he says no sometimes when we ask things, but we ask them uh, in order to fulfill like a sinful desire. You ask God for a new car in order to brag about it to your friends that, well, look what car I got, and yeah, it's awesome, and things like that. Then God will say no. Or you ask him to have a better paid job in order to buy a bigger house and to be able to brag about it in front of your colleagues or neighbors and things like that. Uh, like in a way, selfish prayers, they are very likely to get a no for an answer from God. Uh, if you pray for others, and let's say it happens sometimes when you pray for the sick, for people with terminal diseases. I know cases, and I met persons which were praying for healing, and God gave them their healing. Where others prayed for their healing, and God gave them that. But I also encountered a situation. One of my wife's friends, they um, they they had terminal cancer. They had like a brain tumor, and we prayed for more than 1 year for her healing, but it didn't happen. In the end, the sickness was yeah was too much, and she died. And yeah, that was no answer from God. We don't know why it was a no, but yeah, um, it's it's yeah something that happened, and sometimes we don't understand. That's true why God says no, but for her, for that person that died, it was not a big loss in a way, because she went to be with God that she loved. She went to heaven and spent an eternity with him where there was no pain and things like that. And also her sickness actually helped her mend some relationship that were really estranged with her parents, because she didn't have a very good relationship with her parents. But when she got sick, she mended those relationships. But in the end, she went to God, and she was ready for it. So yeah, we don't know why, but for her it was better. For the people that she left, for her husband and kids, maybe it wasn't the best to have no for an answers to her healing. And it wasn't no because God couldn't heal her. It was no because yeah, he wanted her in heaven, I guess, to say this. But yeah, we shall understand all things when we get to heaven. But till then, some things we don't understand, and we in some situations there are some situations in which we can't really say for certain what causes God to answer no. There are some that we know, like asking for selfish reasons, and even sometimes there are exceptions when asking from selfish reasons. Sometimes God gives that people those things in order to show his kindness to him, because yeah, God can also speak through kindness and not only through sickness and things like that. But yeah, usually when you ask for selfish reasons, God will say no. Or when you ask for something that is not good for you, or you are not yet prepared, he will say no for the moment when you are not prepared. But after, when when you are ready for what you ask for, he will give it to you. If you never get ready for it, you will never receive it. So in a way, for some prayers, there is also a part that we as human have to do, like was my case, like praying to get married, to have a wife, and things like that. uh, I do believe with all my heart that if I wouldn't like stayed and analyze myself and see, well, am I ready to have a wife or not? Am I ready for the marriage life or not? And yeah, to actually discover that I was not ready, um, because I wanted to get married from selfish reason and things like that, and that wouldn't have been good for the relationship. If I would stay in that attitude, I would have never gotten married. Um, but when I changed my attitude and I let go of things that were not healthy for would not be healthy for a marriage, then God answered, and He answered in a very beautiful way. Also, um, God may say no for the moment for some prayers when especially when it's regarding others, when they are not ready. Like maybe I will use the marriage thing, or having a girlfriend or things like that, or boyfriend, depending on your gender or things like that. He may say no, not yet, or no, if that other person is not ready. Of course, this is a bit, in a way, questionable in the idea that, yeah, God not doesn't necessarily have only one person that is right for you, and you are free to choose whomever you want. But if you truly let Him to choose for you, He will do it, and He will give you the right person, or the person that it's the most um, the best for you, the best match for you. But sometimes you have to wait for that person to be ready. But yeah, these are some reasons that might make God to say no to a prayer. But yeah, this doesn't mean that we should stop praying. We can also ask Him to about the reason for which He said no, and we might get an answer to that, but sometimes we don't. But yeah, when we get an answer, it's sometimes when the answer help us, like when we ask for something for God that we are not yet ready and he says no, or for a job that seems really interesting and He says no. Sometimes when we ask for why, He says, well, it's no because of these things, or it's no because of these other things, and it's no because you're not ready, or because of this and that. And then you say, oh, I'm not ready, so I have to change this and that in order to be ready. And I keep praying to receive that thing, but I also start praying for having the power to change things that can be changed, because of course as people we can change things through our own sheer will sometimes, but it's way easier when God helps you to change things. And if you want to change for the better, He will always help you, and that's the nice thing and about this relationship. It's yeah, He wants us to get into heaven, but He will never force us. The God's what God wants is that every people on this earth be in heaven. But when He made us in the Garden of Eden, He gave us free will, and He respects the free will that He gave us. Because if He wanted, everyone would get into heaven. Everyone would um, would manage to get there if he would disregard our free will. But he doesn't. He created us with free will, and he let us use that free will. And yeah, some people may choose that no matter how much God is calling him or her or talking to her, he says, well, I don't care about your heaven. I want to live my life on earth how I want. I want to be free in a way. But to be honest, we are never free when we are living the lives like we want it, because we are always under addictions or things like that, under pressure for the society or things like that. The true freedom is, the true freedom is with God. But he gives us the motivation. What I believe, that he gives us the motivation to not go to heaven, to know the not motivation, the freedom to not go to heaven, because he wanted people to have free will, like to make their own choices. He doesn't want to. I mean, it's in a way, you don't want to have a relationship with a computer, right? I mean, what's the point of it? The computer does exactly what you want to do. Of course, sometimes it has errors and glitches and things like that, but yeah, it's not something that you want to have a relationship with a robot or a computer that does everything that you do. And we were created for, because God wanted to have a relationship with us. So he also let us that free will thing. And because of that free will, and this is basically what he also gave to his angels, like the devil, Lucifer, was able to rebel against God because he also had free will, and he chose to not listen to God and rebel against his leadership. He wanted to be God himself. He had free will, and so yeah, God also created us with free will, and yeah, this is why I believe he gave us the free will to decide, even though he wants us to go to heaven, but he doesn't want to force us to go to heaven, because he wants a relationship with people, with persons that choose to have a relationship. That he doesn't want a forced relationship because people don't know better than that. It's because people know better and know that a relationship with God is the best thing ever. Of course, yeah, some may say, well, no, for me it's not. I'm not sure if I could say that he created a game for himself where he helps people into heaven. Like, when the people got created, they were created with free will, and they were in heaven basically. But then they rebelled against God, listening to what the devil had told them. So then it came that they were cast away. They couldn't see God. Basically, Adam and Eve could see God face to face and live. No other people after them could do that. And when Moses wanted to see God, he couldn't, because God said, well, no one can see me and live. But Adam and Eve could, and when they rebelled, God wanted to fix that. And he knew that people cannot by their own power manage to get into heaven. So he came with a solution. And that solution was Jesus Christ. And he came to this earth, he lived the life that we should have lived in order to get into heaven, and died the death that we should have died for our sin. And that was God's solution, and the only solution for us to get into heaven. But he lets people choose if they want to believe or not. So basically, this was like solving a problem. When the first humans sinned in the Garden of Eden in heaven, they created a problem, and then God came with a solution to that problem. So when you, I don't know, break something or make a mistake, and the boss came with a solution to that mistake and said, well, if you want to fix that mistakes and everything be okay, then you should do this or that. You should do this. If you do otherwise, the mistake will remain and you cannot fix it. And this is, in a way, what God had done. Well, this is my solution. You can either accept it or not. If you accept it, you have my full support on implementing it in your life and things like that. But if you don't accept it, well, you will reap the consequences. So yeah, basically I would say it was more like a solution to a problem, not really a game for himself, a solution for us, because he could have lived in heaven without us, no problem. He didn't really need us, but he wanted us. When Adam and Eve chose to sin, he could just kill them on the spot and say, well, let's do a do-over. We shall create again humans, because yeah, he knew how to create it us. But he didn't want that. He was like, well, I want to fix these mistakes for them. And yeah, this is why, in a way, he helped us. This is why he helped us with the solution to get into heaven. Because he really wanted us to be there, but he would not force us. So yeah, I guess this is the reason for it. So yeah, okay, I think that I will have to end it here. My wife wants to spend some time together, and yeah, I want to I want also to eat, and I also need to eat something. It's almost 10 p.m. for me, but yeah, if you have more questions, maybe we can talk more some other time. And yeah, I hope you enjoyed the conversation, and I wish you a good day or evening, and yeah, see each other next time. Bye.